Bo.
Oh, it's Boz Skaggs. It's Lito Shepherd. It's 64 yards. And even the mascot they're tough in Philly. They're tough. I'll tell you, they're tough. 30-8 over the Panthers. Revenge. Eagles at the Browns. McNabb to Owens. 2 touchdown passes, and then Terrell. How about this?
We've seen more long passes in this prime cut than we saw for 3 years in Philadelphia before this.
And I think he's been out the last couple weeks. We forgot how great they look together.
Yes, and if this game went to overtime, David Akers from
Louisville.
The field goal, 50 yards, 34-31. The Eagles still unbeaten. And now they play the Baltimore Ravens, as you expected, a defensive struggle, 9-3. McNabb to Owens. Look at the moves, T.O., 11 yards. And then,
Oops. A little Ray.
There he goes.
A little Ray.
Now you're going to tell me he didn't practice that.
He had to practice it, Tom, because he did it too well.
The Eagles win 15-10, and now the lone undefeated team left is Philadelphia. The week before, Pittsburgh had beaten New England, and they did the same this time to the Eagles. Hines Ward went in. They did the Steelers having a good time. And this was T.O. and Donovan. At the time, we were worried.
Yeah, a little bit worried, but they straightened things out. And I think more importantly, this was the game that forced Andy Reid to reassess his rush defense, made changes that improved this football team for the rest of the year. Jeremiah Trotter going to the middle linebacker spot for this football team.
Let's reiterate, this was a team that was 7-1, not 1-7 that you're making changes. 27-3, they lose that, but here they go against halfback them Cowboys. McNabb to T.O., 59 yards, but then how about this play? We'll never forget, I got to do it here. He spins there and then whoop, and then he runs to the right and then, I'm going to keep whoop, and then we go back the other way and now we're going to get tackled and then whoop, let me set up and run. No, I'm going to wing. Freddie Mitchell, amazing. Steve, how did he do it?
Well, I mean, he's just got the legs and what he's doing. You see the maturity of Donovan McNabb this year. He started to use his arm more than his legs. He didn't attack the line of scrimmage, but gave receivers time to get downfield and get open.
And we hear Tom say it all the time. It's not just getting to Donovan, Tom. What do you have to do?
You got to get him down on the ground,
That's
Mike.
a hard thing to do.
And then the Eagles go on to beat the Giants 27-6 and win another NFC East. It's not getting old hat. Terrell dancing then against the Packers. How about this? 5 touchdown passes in the first half. There's the play to Brian Westbrook, who became such a big player. Donovan, 5 in the first half. The Eagles, remember the Packers were hot. They thought that this was going to be the challenger. They clobbered them 47-17. Week 15 against the Cowboys and dragged down by Roy Williams. There's the injury.
And it's a play that I don't think a lot of us wanted to see. We were looking forward to a great Super Bowl. Hopefully, we'll still get that because T.O. will be playing.
And they won that game. McNabb's feet then rested players and lost 2. Now against the Vikings. The Eagles fired up. It's McNabb to Brian Westbrook. Used in so many different places. Brian in the playoffs caught balls for, well, this is the classic. Just like you diagram it, LJ to Freddie play.
That's when you knew it was the Eagles' day.
Well, it was. They made big plays, and then Dante Culpepper picked off by Jeremiah Trotter. He returned at 35 yards. The Eagles going to the championship, winning 27-14 against the Atlanta Falcons. Would this be the time? Michael Vick actually got outrun by Donovan McNabb in this game because the defensive plan by Philly, stellar. How about that? Hollis Thomas with that. Was wondering, Tom, where you were for the tag. He said, where's Tom at? You know, so that was Greg Lewis, and then McNabb to Chad Lewis, who became such a big part of the receiving before he got hurt.
You know, that's not part of the offense. We're talking about putting the oxygen in. Other people started to step up. Chad Lewis's catches 2 touchdowns, but think about it. He gets hurt. How much will these injuries in the end cost the Eagles?
Well, look, in this game, the Eagles proved that they could fly the highest. The Eagles were going to the Super Bowl.
The Eagles are headed for Jacksonville. The Eagles, for the first time in 24 years, are headed to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, and they are happy. They're right here. You can see it. And why not? I mean, look, people got to remember that these Philadelphia Eagles, it takes somebody to keep getting knocked down and knocked down hard and knocked down hard to get up. They won 47 games over these 4 years, not to mention the 6 playoff games. This team, you know what? Because they always had a plan in my mind, and we can elaborate.
Absolutely.
They always had a plan, even if a T.O. gets hurt, even if those veteran corners like, Vincent and Bobby, we drafted these guys a couple years ago.
Honed by
always
adversity.
had a plan, right?
Yeah, they've been honed by adversity, I think. And if you look at this football team and you think about what they would have been, and I know that they kind of forfeited the last couple of games of the season, but this team could have absolutely been 15-1 coming into the playoffs. But the question still remains the same for me, and that is at 6:30 tomorrow, what is the status of Mr. Eagle 81?
Yeah, but you know, you got to give them credit because they brought T.O. in for what we thought was a championship game. They played great all year, and they lost T.O. for exactly that, the championship game, 2 games before the season was over. And everybody wondered, oh, here we go again. But that was not the case. The young guys, Freddie Mitchell, Todd Pinkston, stepped up. I give you guys credit. You guys are here in Jacksonville, and you deserve it.
But typical of us football guys to hold people down until they win a Super Bowl.
That's right.
I think you have not seen the Philadelphia Eagles as a relaxed team to play football. You haven't seen them in 3 years as a relaxed, relieved team. You got to say that this team is going to be different, just like we were when we finally beat the Cowboys in '94. We were relaxed. You hadn't seen us play relaxed, and when you saw us play relaxed, we played pretty well.
And I think the one guy that has to be relaxed, the guy who really has to play super, the guy who's going to lead them to the win, because we talked so much about T.O., has to be number 5, Donovan McNabb.
He's set to play a great game.
That's right. That's right. I think they're very relaxed.
A great game. And you know what? A couple of those ad-lib 12, 15-yard runs, well, we can XO it a little bit later. The Eagles look at exhaling, and I think a loose team, Steve, is the biggest point that you can make about the Eagles. Much more on the Eagles, T.O., and Hall of Fame. The crowd is in a Super Bowl mode. Our aerial coverage, courtesy of the Goodyear Tire and Rubber Company, its fleet of airships, reminding you travel with peace of mind on Goodyear's new Assurance tires.
هل تشعر باليأس؟ في فبراير اطلب أحدث الأفلام على تي في ماكس لترفع من روحك المعنوية.
It's comedy.
رفه عن نفسك مع جاك نيكولسون وكيانو ريفز وديان كيتن في Something's Gotta Give.
You stay where you are. Yes, I have an intruder in my house.
تعال إلى الحفلة مع كيدي هومز لتحضير عشاء لن ينسى في Pieces of April.
Are you waiting with the new stove?
انضم إلى صلاح عبد الله وسعاد نصر في منظور وعزيزة.
حتى عمري ما تعكست في حياتي زي ما تعكست وانا ماشيه.
ابتسم مرة ثانية مع بريتني ميرفي في Uptown Girls اللذيذ.
You're working for me. I quit! Swinging door.
واشعر بالتشويق مع تومي لي جونز وكيت بلانشيت في The Missing.
Can you track him?
He could track.
اطرد الأحزان مع أحدث الأفلام في فبراير على تي في ماكس، صالة عرضك المنزلية.
Been asked by the fans out there who want to know, is Mort coming on the show? Yes. Is Mike Ditka coming on the show? Yes. He's right here. We'll get with the coach. Speaking of Hall of Famers in a moment, he's got his fans. Little less than 24 hours until kickoff now. You can't call tonight's meal the Last Supper, but maybe you can. Let's go now live to both teams' hotels. Sal Palantonio's with the Eagles. Ed Werder is with the Patriots. Good evening, Ed.
Good evening, Boomer. Tom Brady admits his preparation this week has not been as focused as it was for his 2 previous Super Bowl victories. Early in the week, the 2-time Super Bowl MVP complained that slippery practice field conditions were hampering his efforts to develop a sense of timing with his receivers. And then late in the week, he was dealt the emotional blow of losing his 94-year-old grandmother. It's quite clear at this point that Brady's patience is wearing thin.
I feel like, God, can we friggin' play this game? It's going, we had all these practices. I mean, at this point, I've been, you go over the game plan, then you talk about the routes, and it's like, all right, Charlie, what do we do if they this coverage? And then you talk about that, and then something comes up, and you're like, well, all right, and you're at the nuances of the nuances at this point. So it's finally time to go out there and play the friggin' game.
Patriots players and coaches had a 1 o'clock walkthrough over at Alltel Stadium, posed for a team picture. They've been back here and off since about 3. Some players like Teddy Bruschi went to the nearby family hotel, said he got well-wished one last time. David Givens just coming back from a massage. Another player saying he still had work to do, had to take a game plan test. They've all turned in their courtesy cars. They're sequestered here in the hotel. They have an 8 o'clock meeting tonight. For more on the Eagles, let's go to Sal Paolantonio.
Good evening, Ed. I'm standing in front of the team hotel for the Philadelphia Eagles, and inside right now they are in position meetings until about 8 o'clock when there'll be a team meeting and a team snack. I had a chance earlier to go into the Eagles offices and chat with Andy Reid. He said his message to the team will be simple tonight. Have fun. He said, this is a loose group. I don't have to tell them very much. As you guys reported earlier, Terrell Owens was held out of the walkthrough at Alltel Stadium at about 11:30 this morning. The Eagles went through their walkthrough. T.O. was held out, and I talked to Andy Reid. He said he worked T.O. very hard in practice on Friday, and according to trainer Rick Burkhalter, this rest was pre-planned. Burkhalter told me that there'll be the normal rehab for T.O., that he has not been feeling better than he is right now, and that he will play in this game. He'll spend one more night, Boomer, in that hyperbaric chamber sleeping. It's so noisy in there, he can't have a roommate, and he's got to have Burkhalter wake him up. So it's up to the trainer to get T.O. out for Super Bowl 39.
Right, thank you, Sal. And Ed, General Burkhalter, boy, he's getting... Click, you're an idiot. No, that's the other General Burkhalter. Back to the here we are, Hall of Fame class of 2005, and the quarterback who owns so many passing records, like just about all of them, Dan Marino. I mean, you can look at his numbers, and they're mind-boggling. When you look at him in action, perhaps it's even more so. Some top 10 moments, if that's possible, from Dan Marino. And here we go, top 10 from Dan Marino. I like this one. Late in his career, one last fourth quarter comeback in the playoffs as they close down the Kingdome with a Miami win over Seattle in the playoffs. As they beat the Seahawks 20-17 on a final drive late in the game. December 2nd, 1984. 4 touchdowns, 470 yards. Yes, they lost to the Raiders, but the first touchdown pass of the day was 37. That was the record then, 37 at that time.
But as you watch these passes, you watch the footwork in the pocket, he throws every kind of pass. He can throw the zip pass. That one was a touch pass. Watch the footwork, though. Plant sets himself. That's that, like, pass that only gets 10 yards off the ground, gets there in a hurry.
This game was a wild Monday night game in the Orange Bowl against the Dallas Cowboys. 4 touchdown passes. He had 4 games in a row. That was Mark Clayton. 40 of it. I remember that game. You know why, Tom?
Why, Boom?
Because I was there. And then, 1995, just 2 weeks earlier, Marino became the all-time leader in passing yardage. This little flip to Keith Byers gave him 343 touchdown passes, which is an NFL record, which, of course, now he has at 420.
Well, I ended up trying to throw the ball like Dan Marino when I was a young kid, and all he did was get a sore arm. It was one of a kind delivery he had throughout his career.
Remember the Hall of Fame.
Remember this play? He fooled the Jets. Are we going to spike the ball? No, it was to Mark Ingram, and they fooled the Jets.
I'm just thinking about Stevie. He gripped the ball like Roger Staubach. He threw it like Dan Marino. All those things worked out, baby.
That was the ultimate in trickery right there against the Jets. 1986, one of the great battles of all time in passing. 30 of 50, 448, 6 touchdowns, but somehow, some way, 51-45, they lost to the New York Football Jets. It was an amazing game. Wesley Walker, oh man, at any rate. Dan Marino, one of the great performances after the injury-shortened 93 season. Marino against Bledsoe, September 4th, 94. 5 touchdowns, 473. The Dolphins beat New England 39-35.
Did you say 473 yards?
Just another day. And just look at it. You watch it. Every week was 5 more touchdown passes. And what about the release? unbelievable.
Yeah, I tell you, and every time you see him, you almost get comfortable with the fact that he had the best release in the history of the game. You could get within 2 feet of him, ball out, you don't get to touch him.
You actually only heard it, right, Tom?
That's
you only heard the ball come out. Down 17-14, November 10th, 1985, Marino to Mark. Super duper makes the catch. Woo! Hits 50 yards, and Miami beats the Jets 21-17.
And you always wonder, is this the best long ball thrower? We saw John Elway. You always talk the best. But when he threw that long ball, how many times did you see him throw it out of bounds or short or long? It was very rare.
That's this game now on December 2nd, 1985, when Mike Ditka's Chicago Bears were 12-0. This was magic in the air. That's Mark Clayton, the Marx Brothers. That was a night when Marino was at his all-time best.
And the whole league wondered if anybody was ever going to beat the Bears, and Dan did it on his own.
It was, and Shula had them all lined up on the sidelines too. Warfield,
all the pass breaks.
Little, they all were standing there, getting to the big. This is the '84 championship game when Marino in the title game against Pittsburgh, 421 yards, 4 touchdowns. I remember because I was there. They beat the Steelers 45-28, and all these passes. Do you get the feeling, you really young fans who may not have witnessed Dan at his all-time best? Okay, so completions and attempts are first, but 61,000 yards for 420 touchdowns? Does it make your arm hurt, Steve, just looking at those numbers?
It's unbelievable.
Congratulations. Congratulations, Dan,
that
from
was,
all of us.
Congratulations as well, Dan. You know, I thought about Dan and how he did it because he wasn't the most fleet of foot. And for a guy like myself that used that extra asset to try to get out of trouble, I was able to get out of a lot of jams because of my feet. And I never could imagine to try to get out of all my jams with my arm the way he did for all of those years and through all those yards. He was unique. If you tried to copy him, you'd only get hurt. Nobody can copy this man the way he played football.
Well, you're right. He was fleet of arm. I mean, he could throw that ball. And I grew up in Miami. I watched that Chicago Bear game, and I remember all the times watching him throw that ball, and it always seemed like it went right by that DB's ear and landed right in the basket of the wide receivers. I talked to Mark Clayton. He lives in Dallas. I talk to him all the time. He says, Michael, catching Dan Marino's balls was the easiest thing I ever did in my life.
I only played against Dan Marino one time, but I was so fortunate. We came out, and you couldn't help but watch. On one side of me, I had John Elway warming up, and on the other side I had Dan Marino, and you just mesmerized by the release. You know, I kept thinking, how are we going to get there in time to force the ball out of his hand before he wants it out of his hand?
You know, I think only Joe Namath had to release that fast.
Just like it. Very similar. Very similar.
Did the ball really come? When did it come out from? Of course, Dan dropped less. That night against the Bears, it wasn't, Dan never won a Super Bowl, but he'd probably tell you that was his Super Bowl night, as he upheld the Dolphins tradition and gave Mike's Bears their only loss of that magical season for them. When we return, Steve's top 10 plays. Anxious to hear, Steve, you on this one, and much more on the Patriots and Eagles for Super Bowl 39. Coach Ditka will join us. Mort, we got lots happening.
Welcome back to NFL Primetime, presented by Miller Lite.
And welcome back to Jacksonville. One of the things that Tom Brady, he's got a lot of time. You know, Matt Light, Joe Andruzzi, Dan Copen, Stephen Neal, Brandon Gordon. They may not have the names like a John Hanna or Leon Gray, but what a job they do, and what a job the Pats do by helping out with backs protect when they need. As we go to our Playmaking Made Easy demo field, Tommy, how does Philly break through this protection that Brady has?
Well, the key for the Philadelphia Eagles, and they've talked about it all week, Boom, is that they're going to have to get some pressure on Tom Brady. We're going to show you a couple examples of what they're going to do in terms of blitz packages. Steve Young is going to play the role of Tom Brady. That's good right there. Michael Irvin is my offside inside backer, and I am Javon Curse, who's going to really be key in all of this. The strong safety, Brian Dawkins, will come up. This is an overload blitz from the left side. As we come to blitz, there's a void behind us. The quarterback is looking for that void. Michael comes across. We hope we get the errant throw here by the quarterback. If he holds on to the ball, we hope we get a hit. Now we're going to give you the same look with different personnel. Michael Irvin is going to be the end. Derek Burgess. Strong safety Brian Dawkins, Javon Curse on the other side. They come on the blitz package. Now we hope Tom Brady looking to throw the ball the other way. Javon Curse engages, backs off, ball thrown, intercepted. You go, big play. I think that one of the keys when you look at all of this is the fact that a lot of teams believe in token pressure. Steve, this cannot be token pressure on Tom Brady.
I tell you what, the Eagles are going to try to overload blitz, but you better, when you get to them, you better knock them down. No one has better nifty feet to make people miss. If you miss them, you're on your way to losing. The second thing, if you're going to blitz, you better disguise it because he is a master at being able to see what you're going to do, and he'll change the play and he'll break your blitz. Those two things that Tom Brady
does not have your athleticism. He does have Dan Marino's pocket presence.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, but the good thing is Philadelphia, unlike Pittsburgh, they got some pretty good cover corners. If they don't get to Tom Brady, those guys can cover for the Philadelphia Eagles. Boom, back to you, buddy.
All right, fellas, thank you very much. How about that little night football for you here? When we return, speaking of the night before, what are the Patriots and what are the Eagles doing the night before the big game? That's one of the questions we put to the players. We'll be back, Coach Ditka included.
المركز الرياضي يضعك في الصفوف الأمامية وينقلك إلى قلب الحدث. تغطية مباشرة وتحليل لأهم البطولات العربية والعالمية مع نخبة من ألمع الخبراء والصحفيين الرياضيين. المركز الرياضي مع ياسر علي ديب من الاثنين إلى الجمعة مباشرة على الرياضية.
الموضوع ما كانش بيتكلم عن التطبيق خالص. استغلوا الظروف السياسية اللي موجودة دلوقتي وحاولوا يشوهوا الفيلم.
خالد الحجري يرد على الاتهامات ويدافع عن الفيلم حب البنات.
الأفلام اللي فيها شيء جدي ما بتلاقيش إقبال جامد.
خالد الحجر ضمن برنامج مخرج يتحدث قريبا على قناة فن.
ويكاد يقتلني. اشتقت إلى ابنتي، إلى أليخاندرو، إلى أمي.
قل لها كاميلا أحبك وأريدك هنا قربي.
وستكون لي حياة رائعة جدا. وأنت باتريك سأودعك إلى الأبد.
لقد نعتني بالخائن وقال إنني انتهازي.
ماذا؟ أنا مغرمة.
حسناً، ومن هو؟
إنه فلافيو.
مال بلا مجد من السبت إلى الخميس في الأوقات التالية على قناة اليوم.
This February on Super Movies, there's action, laughs, and excitement with all kinds of cool characters in your kinds of movie. Dirty cops and supervillains.
She's a cop? You didn't tell me she was a cop.
In Knockoff. Guys and their girls in Love Don't Cost a Thing. Friends who become lovers in The Next Best Thing.
I'm pregnant with your baby.
Pop stars and prom queens in Crossroads. Big stars and beautiful women in Malibu's Most Wanted.
What's that?
Freaks and their fans in Mighty Wind.
I love Mitch. But
good soldiers and cruel deities in Gods and Generals.
Kill them, sir. Kill every last man.
All these people, all these movies, and many more this February on Super Movies.
Twas the night before the Super Bowl, and all through the house, not a creature was stirring. Who are we kidding? Of course, the Patriots and Eagles are stirring just a little bit. We asked, what do you plan to do tonight? Hopefully not count sheep.
The Super Bowl.
Well, we're going to have some meetings, and then I'll probably go back to the room and lay down and watch a movie or something, man. Try to relax.
Hanging out, you know, at the hotel, whatever, just
playing cards.
Maybe a Hillary Duff movie, something to really settle you down, you know, put in an Ashley Simpson CD.
Probably be eating some chocolate chip cookies, drinking some cold ice milk. That's my routine the night before the game.
I know I'm going to take a bath, you know, I'm going to stretch, going to look at my playbook, you know, I got to, you know, soak my muscles, get my body ready, get my mind right.
Have a nice meal. Probably read a book. Sleeping. Simpler than that, just going to bed. Sleep. I will be in a deep coma. I'm going to be sleeping. I'm going to get my rest and wake up, and it's time to go.
Probably talking to my family, getting some last minute, like, I guess a little pep talk from my dad. You know, just focusing, going over my notes and doing a lot of praying.
Well, joining us now, the long-awaited arrival of Coach Mike Ditka. Happy Super Bowl.
Thank you, Boone. Thank you.
You got them all over.
All two of them.
You know, the players say, okay, I know what I'm going to do tonight. A lot of that is maybe not true. Go back to '85 when you were coaching that great Bears team. What was it like the night before?
You know, when Sal and Ed told you what they're doing, they're having meetings, really. They're going to have a little game meal. The only thing I told our football team was this, and I really mean this. This game is not about winning it for your wife or your family or Coach Alice or the fans. It's about winning it for each other. You play this game like a band of brothers. You give it all on the field, and that's it. When it's over, you don't ask for anything because either you're going to be the winner or the loser. And I think they took it. When I broke up with them, I know Buddy took the defense, and he really got into them. And they were I'd say they got a little angry. They played like they were angry.
Yeah, I think so. I think the Patriots can attest to that day. You know, now that the game is as the Super Bowl is going on, it's a later and later kickoff, and here we are in the Eastern time zone, so it's a 6:30 kickoff. That's tough.
It's a killer. That's the hardest thing these players are going to have to deal with tomorrow. You know, everybody's going to be a little bit nervous. That's going to end when the game starts. Let me say this. Both of these coaches are very confident. They know their teams are prepared. They've coached them well. They've practiced well, and they really think they're going to succeed in what they're trying to do out on the football field. But waiting that long is really going to be tough on these guys.
Well, you mentioned the coaches, and we all know what kind of staffs both teams have. Bill Belichick and his staff, I mean, meticulous. Andy Reid and his staff, just as meticulous.
Absolutely.
So, okay, you're breaking down this game. What are the keys of this game? Maybe it's game plan. Maybe it's something else.
Well, I think if I'm Andy Reid, I'm going to really get one guy involved in the offense, and that's Westbrook. And I'm going to break the backfield with him. I'm going to get him out there as a receiver where linebackers or safeties have to cover him. If they don't do that, I'll be very surprised. You know one thing about the Patriots, they aren't going to change very much at all. They got a plan, and they're going to stick with that plan. Why shouldn't they? It's worked every time they've used it. And defensively, they're going to find out, they're going to have 1, 2, 3 priorities. Who do we take out of the game? If it's Donovan, watch out, because they're going to come after him.
And you know that, well, and they're playing every time. You try to look at the rhythm of Charlie Weiss and what he calls, it's always different.
Well, but that's why he's so good. You got to expect the unexpected from Charlie because he's going to give it to you. When you're backed up and you think they're going to try to run their way out of there, I doubt it. They're going down the field, just like they did against Pittsburgh.
You know what? It's the day to honor Steve and Dan Marino and posthumously Benny Friedman and Fritz Pollard. But that game, I know it was the only game you guys lost that year, but yet you look back at the way Marino played that game in the Orange Bowl. I know you lost it, but did you know you were seeing greatness there? I mean, he was unbelievable that night, wasn't he?
Well, I knew I saw greatness when he went to the University of Pittsburgh because I went there. And then I watched his whole career.
But that game was...
that game, we were out-coached, period. Coach Schulers and his staff did a better job than we did. Our football team was ready to play football, but we didn't put him in the best position to win. And I never took a thing away from the Miami Dolphins. They played one heck of a game with a great game plan. Offensively, they broke us down on defense, what we wanted to do. We couldn't play the 46 effectively because of what they did. And it was very simple, but we didn't adjust to it until late.
You never got over it. It's the only game you lost all year.
I got over it because we won the Super Bowl. We won the Super Bowl. They didn't win the Super Bowl. I got over it, but I'm just saying, you know, that's a part of history that, you know, Dan Marino has been so good for the game of football. He's been so good for the University of Pittsburgh. I'm so proud that him and Steve got into the Hall of Fame. You talk about two very, very deserving men. And well, I don't know if anybody will ever break his records, but I don't think that's important. I don't think it's how many records you set. It's how you play the game. And those two guys really played the game the way it should be played.
And you ended up coaching in some big games against number 8 over there, Steve Young.
Number 8? Are you kidding me? He drove me crazy. You know, you got rid of Montana, then he came on stage, and he ran more than Montana. He was unbelievable, an accurate, very accurate thrower, and you know, and a class guy off the field.
And, and as a member of the Hall of Fame, they're your teammates now.
Well, I'm proud. I'm proud of those guys. I'm proud that I'm in it. I don't understand it all, but those guys are special.
You're ready for the Super Bowl, I can tell. He's ready, we're ready, and plays that Mike likes, the jacked up plays. Tommy will give you the top 10 hits of the year, and you know, for a guy from Pittsburgh, you like that stuff. Tough football. Coach Ditka's with us, more to be with us. I think we're getting ready to play the game. Of course, we had some fun with 3 guys who went to Rains High School right here. That's Brian Dawkins on the left, Lito Shepard, and Harold Carmichael, and the commissioner of the tour, Tim Fincham, came out. You know it was big.
It's all right. It's off the tee. See, I'm not used to hitting off this tee with an iron.
Oh, the building was good.
And for Brian Dawkins, look at the swing by Dawk.
Yeah, but if you just stare it down, boom, everybody will think you hit the green. All you got to do is stare straight ahead.
Hey, now look, when I play with you, we have a tough. What's this?
Mo Norman. On.
What do you think,
Boom's
Tom?
looking. And foul. It's on.
Stop. Stop. I don't know if that swing.
That was great.
Pebble.
That was great.
I think Jeff Sluman next week, my partner at Pebble, better get
Slow it down, Boom. Slow it down.
Whoa. And, you know, the Eagles had such a good. They were so proud, 3 Jacksonville guys coming back to play in their hometown, all from Rains High School. And we thank the Eagles for making that possible. Speaking of guys that, well, he slows it down. Our man Mort. It's been a slow week for you? I don't think so.
Not tonight, Boom. Hey, Boom, one of the most intriguing non-Super Bowl stories developing this weekend is the Tennessee Titans courtship of USC offensive coordinator Norm Chow, who met with their coach Jeff Fisher, an ex-Trojan, on Friday. Now, even though Chow has never coached in the NFL, Fisher told me last night that wasn't a major concern as the Titans seek to replace Mike Heimerdinger as his offensive play caller. In fact, Fisher said talking to the Southern Cal guru was like talking to Yoda of Star Wars fame. Chow left Tennessee without an offer, but was awaiting a call from Fisher tonight. One good sign, Titans quarterback Steve McNair met with Chow and liked what he heard. Yes, that means McNair is pretty much coming back for his 11th season, according to Fisher. McNair openly contemplated retirement, but is recovering well from surgery for his chronically injured sternum. Fisher said he has assured his quarterback they are not going to completely overhaul the team. And Romeo Crennel is on the eve of his final game as the Patriots defensive coordinator. The Cleveland Browns are poised to offer Crennel their head coaching job after Sunday night's game, and this week received permission to speak with Cowboys offensive coordinator Maurice Carthon, who is Crennel's choice to call plays in Cleveland. I guess the only roadblock is the negotiations between the Browns and Crennel's agent. If things fall apart, Brad Childress of the Eagles could always step in there. And Boom, I got to tell you, I got some good stuff for Sunday headlines tomorrow on Countdown.
All right, Mort, way to go. As always, on top of things, Steve was able to make magical things happen with the football. We'll take a look at his own. You ready for this? You ready to look at your own top 10? Hey, Donovan McNabb is number 5. He's open. Number 5 is number 1. Respect time for Philly. They're here.
We've been underdogs even on PlayStation games. I mean, you know, we just can't win anything right now. The game ain't even been played yet.
Nighttime, and they have been ready. Alltel Stadium, the site of Super Bowl 39, right on the grounds of the old Gator Bowl was, huh? And it's ready to rumble. The Philadelphia Eagles, the real Jim Johnson, sends the blitz. It's different than Pittsburgh's blitz, which didn't get to Tom Brady, fellas. They bring one more man than you have to protect. And so New England and everybody that plays against this blitz had better be careful, because they're going to outman you. So you got to get rid of the ball quickly or what have you. So now we go back to our playmaking made easy feel. And guys, what can the Patriots do to fool Philly or to overload them back? How do they combat this sort of blitz, Tom?
Boom, I think it's the same thing they've done all year, and that is they have to be able to defend by letting Corey Dillon run the football. And the key is going to be how Jeremiah Trotter plays when they attempt to run. I'm going to use Michael Irvin. He's going to be Corey Dillon.
I'll play Corey Dillon.
Right here, Mortimer is going to be a guard, and my guy is going to be a quarterback right there. The AB gap, either gap to the quarterback side. Jeremiah Trotter likes to play downhill, so when the ball comes, he's going to step up. He's going to want to fill. He makes a lot of hits in the backfield, a lot of hits for losses. We're going to reset this thing. What you have to be careful of is, and you always hear Jeremiah say and his teammates say, turn it back to me. He's going to step up toward the hole, but when he does, he gets caught in the wash. Now, Michael gets outside or Corey Dillon, and once he gets outside, you're going to find, instead of a 4 or 6 yard run, you find that long run. And I think it's going to be a great chess match between this outstanding linebacker, this great group of linemen, and that running back as to what you're willing to give and take during the course of this game.
You know, Tom, Jeremiah Trotter, like you say, he loves to come downhill. Now, Steve, he handed those balls off to me twice. Now, next time, he may pull it back out on a play action. Everybody up in their line of scrimmage, they could hurt the Philadelphia Eagles.
And Trotter told me this week that he matured being under Marvin Lewis with the Redskins, who taught him you have to play within the scheme. You can't freelance.
I'm not sure. Well, they've decided to change the scheme to allow him to freelance and cover him because they've allowed him to run like Junior Seau, and I think that's been the success. Mike, hey, we'll be back. Come on. Go long. Go long.
Hey, there was one Hall of Famer throwing to a guy that's going to be in it right there on our stage. Our top 10 moments with Steve when we come back. And they are getting ready. The NFL experience. Yikes.
ESPN Sport Legends presents Billie Jean King. For all of Billie Jean King's tennis success, one match towers above all the rest. Her Battle of the Sexes duel against Bobby Riggs in 1973.
It pitted man versus woman. It was boss versus secretary. It was husband versus wife. It was brother versus sister.
There was never anything before like Billie Jean King and Bobby Riggs, and there never will be again.
Before a record courtside crowd of 30,000 at the Houston Astrodome and a worldwide television audience estimated at almost 50 million, King took charge of her aging opponent, running him into submission.
That particular night, it became a level playing field, and I think that changed the way women thought.
Your choice for a variety of great sports action every day is ESPN. This February on ESPN, we're jam-packed with great sports action from around the globe. The UEFA Champions League returns for the knockout round, showcasing the top clubs of Europe. The superstars of the NBA go shooting, slamming, and jamming as the hardcore battles heat up. You gotta know when to hold them and know when to fold them with all new episodes of the World Series of Poker. Style and grace are on display for the European Figure Skating Championships. Great action this February on ESPN.
ما هي أجمل لحظة كوميدية؟ هل من الممكن أنها لم تأتي بعد؟
Use your imagination.
Are you trying to seduce me?
لعلكم تصدقون.
I got a surprise for you guys. I knew it.
I want to spend the rest of my life with you.
I put some candy in there for you.
لحظات من المرح خلال فبراير على سوبر كوميدي. والمزيد في طريقه إليكم قريبا.
Yeah, how you doing?
Welcome back to NFL Primetime, presented by Miller Lite.
Welcome back, everybody, to Jacksonville. And now, see, there's sometimes when we do highlights and you help me out and we have a lot of fun, but it's rare that we get the guy sitting right here.
That's right. That's right.
I'll tell you what it was like, Boma.
You remember because?
I remember because I was there.
Steve Young, Hall of Famer, as of today, top 10 moments. What was this, 9 completions for 4 touchdowns?
This was one of those days where everything just went right. It didn't take much. I threw my final touchdown in Dwight Clark's career was right there, and it was the first time I'd ever played on Monday night, and things went pretty well. It was the famous game where Mike Ditka threw the piece of gum and hit the lady in the cheek.
Well, you notice Mike has left the set. He was so upset that we were going to show that. All right, now this one, 97 yards to John Taylor against Atlanta, Steve.
Yeah, desperation is a mother of all invention, right? We give it, and one of the most undersung players in NFL history is that man right there, John Taylor, one of the greatest athletes that I ever played with. It was a pleasure to play with so many guys, but John Taylor was one of the special guys.
Amazing play. All right, now 1994, the magical season. Right away, it was Monday Night Football, the LA Raiders. Steve, you won 44-14, 4 TDs. Here's one to Jerry.
And I think that we also set the record for Jerry Rice that night. Yep. It was the crosstown rival. It was a big ball game. I remember it was to set the tone for a great season, and here's the game, the pass that set the record for Jerry Rice in touchdowns. And that was a very special part of that whole season was Jerry Rice's record.
A career record for touchdowns, Steve. Now at Candlestick, and there it is. Congratulations, everyone. It's Candlestick. This game between you and Jim Kelly and the Buffalo Bills in 1992 is the only regular season game without a punt.
This was the sequel to the USFL battles we had for the Express and Gamblers, an equally great game when there wasn't a punt. And I'm telling you, it was, if you love offensive football, you didn't want to miss that day.
449 yards, 3 TDs, amazing, but Buffalo beat you that time, 34-31. What's up?
Well, especially at home. But, you know, it was one of those shootouts. Whoever had the ball last was going to win, and that cost us the big score there.
It was great. USFL 10 years later on. Look, Ma, one hand, 1993. Jerry Rice, as you do for 462 and 4 TDs.
You know, sometimes it looks easy. It's never easy. But with Jerry Rice, many times it looked just like that. That happened twice in one day, the same day, 2 one-handed catches for touchdowns.
That's ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
I told him catching a left-handed spin was easy.
Oh. What about that, Mike, huh?
It's one of the greatest receptions I've ever watched in the history of watching football.
And then in 1902, all right, you ran against the Rams. 39 yards here, bud. You could do this.
Well, you know, I tried to learn how to not get out of the pocket, get the ball to these special players I played with, but every once in a while.
Young almost falls down, throws to the end zone. Owens! 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 He caught it! He caught it!
That was a great play to beat the Packers.
I remember T.O. telling me, Steve, thanks for keeping faith in me. Wait, thanks for throwing the ball. You kidding me? You're a big kid. I'm throwing you the ball.
It turned out the Packers had had your number before that, and you'd beaten them. And then against the Vikings, Steve, take us through this play. This is ridiculous.
Well, I'd replaced Joe in a big ball game, and I had to win, and I really needed to move the football. I didn't care how I did it. We got to the fourth quarter. We were down, and that is one of those strange things that happens. Everybody just kind of like, it's like a cartoon. Everybody just flopped out of my way. It was like they were trying to help me get into the end zone, and then I almost tripped myself right here. I remember after the game, it was a lot of guys making fun of me for almost falling down at the 1.
Hey, Steve, that was when I first did. That was the first play of the whoever did.
The what? Generation.
We're going to the Super Bowl against Dallas. After Dallas had beaten you 2 straight championship games, you've described this feeling many times.
We really blew it in '92 against Dallas at home, and we had to do something here, and that was the big play that I think broke the Dallas Cowboys back.
And then, of course, against San Diego and then Miami night, Steve, a moment, 6 touchdown passes.
Well, I don't know what to say about the Super Bowl. We didn't let a ball drop all week long in practice, and I don't know that we let one drop in that game. It was a very special, special night. I'll never forget it, especially that moment in the locker room right after after the game, before the media came in, where it was just 50 guys, a bunch of coaches, and we looked at each other and said, we are champions of the world. It was a very special time.
49 points at 49 yards running, the 6 touchdown passes, the MVP, and you know, and that was a hug there. Now that I know you've hugged Mom a couple times, but that was now. It's pretty good that in 20 years in San Francisco, right? 79 to 99. What do we got here, Steve? We've got 65,000 yards, 450 or more touchdowns, perfect in the Super Bowls, and of course, you know, the quarterback position of the 49ers was. People wondered what kind of hands it would be.
Halcyon days for 20 years. It was really I say this too many times, it's a special day to be in San Francisco for those 20 years. It was something in sports. I don't know if you ever see a run like that with a team.
And I said, when you look at these plays, I know, do you believe that that's you in some of them?
You know, so when you get on a roll, when you really get 11 guys on the same page, everybody feeling it together, there's something special that happens that's almost out-of-body experience. It just rolls, and I think that's what you look for when you're playing offensive football, when it just goes out and things happen, despite the fact that there's a lot of reasons why it shouldn't happen. It seems like everybody just on the same page.
Yeah, and it's not a question, but when I would watch Steve play, I always thought of you as kind of a quarterback before your time. We look now and we see the guys who use their feet as well as their arm to make plays, and it's become commonplace. But when you were doing it, it certainly wasn't commonplace at that time. Watching a guy play in the West Coast offense, yet he's using his legs like a scrambler.
I actually had that as a part of that's the reason why I played. I wanted to change the perception for scrambling quarterbacks, that they weren't mad scramblers, but that you could be in the pocket, be an efficient quarterback, get the ball out of your hand, be a quick strike, deadly guy from the pocket, and an additional weapon that can get outside and do some damage. I'm proud that now we look at guys like Donovan McNabb and guys like Michael Vick who are coming up, Dante Culpepper. They're not mad scramblers anymore. They're dynamic quarterbacks, and it's a big difference.
Right.
Tom, you make a great point.
But Steve can talk all he wants about getting that ball out of his hand. The greatest play we watched him run was that run. And one of the great moments for me actually was watching in the Super Bowl when they started lifting that monkey off his back after he threw 6 touchdowns, because for me, we were the ones that put that monkey on his back. He got it off his back, and that was a great moment for me to watch.
You know, I don't, and Tom alluded to it earlier, and I know you don't want me to go on about it, so I won't, Steve, but I don't think the average person knows what you went through in the situation, that no matter what you did, it wasn't going to be good enough. You handled it with class, and by God, as if your career and that Super Bowl and all those seasons you had, it was good enough, because today, if anybody questioned was it good enough, it was great enough, okay? And nobody will understand what you went through. And I'll say something else, because I've known you a long time. And every time, especially late in your career, which actually surprised me in some of our interviews, you talk about working on your craft and the little things that it took. And you mentioned that practice at the Super Bowl, which I was at. The ball never hit the ground, and you're still talking about it 10, 11 years, working on the little things at your craft, and that's why you're a Hall of Famer today.
Well, and I appreciate it, Boomer. Being a quarterback,